So 2024 shaped up to be a much bigger year in gaming than a lot of people would have thought, and it seems 2025 is going to keep that trend going. There are actually an insane amount of games coming this year and into the future, and because of that I thought I'd do another video based on the games that caught my eye. Now, even though there are heaps of games coming and probably more to be announced, this is just what I'm interested in for 2025. So let's get into it. Number 10, Witchfire. This game has actually already been out in early access since September, though the 1.0 release is slated for 2025. I admittedly haven't played this one yet, but from what I've seen and heard, the shooting mechanics are top tier and the gameplay is great as well. The whole world and art design also looks super engaging, but I am mindful of the difficulty because apparently it is a blend of Souls-like, Extraction and roguelike games. I have a feeling this might fly under most radars, but it could shape up to be a bit of a sleeper hit this year. Either way, it's definitely piqued my interest.
Coming on this expedition was meant to help you find the strength to carry on.
Number 9, Death Stranding 2, On the Beach. I haven't played Death Stranding 1, but this game looks pretty interesting in the weirdest sense of the word. Every time I see a trailer for this franchise, let alone this sequel, I'm just so confused yet drawn in at the same time. Even though at launch the first game was quite divisive, it has since gone on to sell over 5 million copies and had a film adaptation announced to be in the works. Regardless of opinions on this one though, I'm super keen to see how this sequel is received. I might even try to play through the first one sometime this year. Number 8, Exodus. When the original game was announced at the Game Awards in 2023, I thought it looked pretty interesting. Upon watching the Secret Level episode and hearing that a book had been written based on this universe though, I found myself doing a lot more digging. And the most interesting part is that this futuristic sci-fi action-adventure game comes from Archetype Entertainment, which is led by James Olin, a previous BioWare dev. It's also been quoted that this game is also apparently a spiritual successor to Mass Effect, which I'm sure will pique the interest of a lot of fans. The visual style and concept itself looks really cool to me, and I think the whole time dilation piece could make for some really interesting mechanics. The only thing that bothers me is that the game isn't on Steam yet, and it actually doesn't mention Steam specifically, so hopefully it's not exclusive to any singular storefront.
You gonna eat those Twinks?
That's not what they're... You know what? Help yourself.
Number 7, Dispatch. This game is honestly probably not something I'd normally be interested in, but I'm actually pretty keen to see how this one plays out. The whole concept of dispatching superheroes to deal with different incidents honestly sounds like it could make for some really interesting gameplay mechanics. My guess though is that it does appear you won't be directly playing as the heroes themselves, which may turn a lot of people off. The storytelling and art style though reminds me of Invincible and looks really cool. And it doesn't hurt that the makers of this game originally worked on the Telltale games, including The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands. Either way, I'm keeping my eye on this one because I know there's an audience for this type of game, and I have a feeling it will be a bit of a sleeper hit. Plus, it doesn't hurt to have Aaron Paul and Laura Bailey as part of the voice cast.
It is the night. Whenever there's a crisis in the area, we get a call, and guess who answers? Me.
Number 6, Grand Theft Auto 6. This game really needs no introduction and is probably the one game on this list that everyone within and outside of the industry is keeping an eye on. In fact, this game is expected to make such a splash that some studios have put their own roadmaps on pause until this Rockstar title is released. After all, I mean, who wants to be competing with this absolute behemoth? I actually really enjoyed GTA 5 and I'm obviously going to check this game out at some point. But being that it is a Rockstar title, it probably won't release on PC for at least a year until after the initial console release, so I will unfortunately have to wait. Even though I'm not the biggest GTA fan, I am looking forward to the story and the amount of shenanigans for this one. Number 5, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. Since the original trailer was shown, I actually haven't heard anything for a while, but I am still looking forward to this one. I don't think there's even been any gameplay trailers, but I'm still keen. We know that it will be based around Cap and Black Panther fighting Hydra, and it is obviously set in 1943 during the Nazi occupation of Paris, but there's not too many other details so far. I think what excites me most about this one is the gameplay mechanics. I'd imagine both Cap and Black Panther are melee based, but I'm sure there will be some range combat as well, especially considering Cap's signature shield. What intrigues me most though is that Amy Hennig is involved, who is best known for her work on the Legacy of Kain, Jak and Daxter, and of course the Uncharted series. If it's anything as good as Uncharted or Spider-Man, this should work out to be a pretty fun game, and I'm actually super keen. Number 4, Mafia: The Old Country. I have only played the first installment, albeit it was the definitive edition that was remade in 2020. But that game was awesome, except for that damned race that took me a while to finish. I mean, I'm not super familiar with this franchise, but the one game I did play was excellent, and I'm pretty keen to check out more. With the release of this game and it being based in Italy itself, seems like this could be a bit of a reboot, and I'm keen to see what they do to mix things up. It also looks like they've included cars and horses in this game, which could make for an interesting mix, because I can't remember too many games that have included both as a means of transport. Now, the original game I played already had a pretty mature tone, but the whole vibe of this trailer also made it seem like things are even darker, which I'm actually really down for.
I do. And see the outcomes of those choices with your very own eyes.
Number 3, The Altars. This one honestly probably isn't my normal type of game, and I wasn't super keen on it until I heard the interview with Alex Jordan, the voice of the protagonist, on the Friends Per Second podcast. Looking more into it, the concept is actually really interesting, and I'm keen to see how the mechanics work for this one. You technically play as one person, but that one person has to make altars of himself, which reflect a different life path, which thereby carries over different skill sets and attitudes and emotions. Conceptually, it sounds like it'd make for a really cool film or story, but as part of a video game, it seems to me that this could be a really unique experience, not only from a story perspective, but from a gameplay side as well. And on the topic of gameplay, it also seems like there's a mix of third-person action combined with survival strategy and management, which is pretty intriguing. Hopefully this one does well, because I feel like these type of ideas are the ones that can push the industry forward and open up new IPs. Number 2, Doom: The Dark Ages. I only recently played Doom 2016, video to come, and even though I only played a bit of the originals, and I'm a pretty recent fan, I'm still keen for this. I have yet to play Doom Eternal, so I'm sure I'm missing out on some mechanics, but Doom: The Dark Ages looks like it might add even more tools to the Slayer's disposal. The whole concept honestly just looks cool, and having that medieval setting kinda just works. Like, it actually makes sense, and now that it's a thing, it kinda makes you wonder why it wasn't a thing sooner. I feel like they can really expand some of their ideas and designs and go a bit more nutty with this sort of setting. Like that gun that shoots skull chippings or that spinning shield weapon looks awesome and fits the franchise so well. I mean, it looks like you can ride a dragon. I never thought of myself as a Doom fan, but after 2016 and this trailer, I think I'm sold. I actually cannot wait to rip and tear my way through medieval demons with this one. Number 1, Ghost of Yotei. I only managed to play Ghost of Tsushima last year and it absolutely blew my mind. Like, I've been working on a video on that game for a while because it's easily become my favorite, so Ghost of Yotei is naturally going to be my most anticipated game of 2025. I do know it's only the second game in this franchise, so who knows, it could be bad and I have already seen some discourse around it, but personally I'm super hyped. Being set 300 years later also makes for an interesting setting because it would take place just after the most pivotal and largest battle of feudal Japan, Sekigahara. Not only does this open up for more weapons like arquebuses, this chain weapon and dual wielding, it looks like you might have a wolf companion. Like, honestly, if they just match the first game's combat, and as long as the story is good, I am 100% in. The only issue for me though, is that it is a Sony exclusive, and I probably won't see a port for at least a year. I will say though, not to gloat, but last year's number 1 for my list was Space Marine 2, and that game turned out to be pretty damn good, so you know, called it. Anyway, that makes my top 10, but there were a few more that I wanted to include as well. So following are 3 more honourable mentions that didn't quite make the list. Number 1, The Witcher 4. Now I know this isn't coming in 2025 and may not even release in 2026, but I'm pretty keen for this one. I think Ciri would make a great main character and I'm pretty excited to dive back into this world. I actually thought they'd be happy to go down the path of make your own Witcher, where you could choose your own school and whatnot, because that sounded like it could open things up a lot, but I'm honestly fine either way. As long as they set up a really good story and stick with the lore, which I mean CDPR themselves own the IP at this point, so it's all up to them. On a side note, I'm probably more keen for the Witcher 1 remake, because even though I did play it, I never finished it. The game itself honestly just aged pretty terribly. Number 2. Onimusha: Way of the Sword. Again, this is another title that isn't releasing until at least 2026, but I had to mention it because the trailers got me hyped. I never got to play the original, but was always so keen to try it out. I think I might also go back and play Onimusha Warlords, which is actually on Steam now. The whole concept just seems really cool to me, and I hope we get more info on it soon. Either way, I'll be keeping my eye on this one. The Steam page is already up after all. Number 3. Avowed. This game was on my list last year because it was meant for a 2024 release, but it's still not out yet. It is due for early 2025, so I'm keen to see how this one plays out. Being set in the Pillars universe is something that added to my interest, and Obsidian is an awesome company, so I'm really hoping this game is good. I have a feeling this one might surprise a few people. Well, that's my list of games I'm most looking forward to in 2025 and beyond. Are there any games from my list that you're also looking forward to? Did I miss anything here that you're super keen for? Leave a comment and tell me what you think, because I'd love to hear what you're most excited for. Is there a weird indie title that isn't getting talked about enough? Let me know below. In fact, the weirder the better, because I'm always open to seeing new concepts and ideas. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. If you've managed to sit through this whole video, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to let me know what else you'd like to see in the comments. Hopefully, I'll catch you in the next one.